So a couple of weeks ago we had a magnificent sighting of one of the Avoca males up on a prominent boulder in the Sand River. We just come across and found the two Tsalala lionesses lying up pretty much in the exact same place as the Avoca male was. So I know it's pretty difficult to tell exactly who these lionesses are given how far away we are, and even though we've got these big camera lenses. But the reason we can tell that the Tsalala Pride is because we saw them walking in front of camp at lunchtime today, and we were pretty certain that it was them there. And where we are now is just a little bit further downstream from camp, and we know that the Unsuccessful Pride was much further south. Then Ximungwe Pride has moved on out of Marthley into the northern neighbours, and so it's the only two that it could be. They're fixated looking off downstream on the other bank of the Sand River. There's a male nyala moving through there. With the vantage point that they've got, they're probably just analysing their options, seeing whether it's worth going after this nyala. Sadly for us, if they do come down the rocks and start heading in that direction, we're not going to see them for too much longer. What we'll do is we'll just wait on the bank this side, hoping that if anything does happen, it happens out in the open where we can see it. But I guess it's a bit of a gamble for now, and so fingers crossed that we then are able to see something, but chances are very, very slim. Looks like they were unsuccessful with that nyala, and unfortunately for us, they've continued off north of the Sand River. These boulders seem to be the place to be for these lions, and I guess it was just special nonetheless. But phenomenal sighting nonetheless, and even from where we are now we can't see them any further, so we're going to carry on this afternoon and see what else we can find, with the hopes that they then move back onto Londolozi in the next few days. This morning we're down in the open grasslands and we found the ostrich family. It's a male and female, and they've got about 14 young chicks with them. When we initially first saw them there were 14, and so at least all of them are still alive now. They're probably about 2 to 3 weeks old, and I mean, it's great to just see them around here. Often when the males are performing, trying to attract a female, he'll create these little scrapes in the ground which essentially can become a nesting site, and if the female accepts his displays, the first one to go and place themselves inside that nest becomes the major, and she'll essentially take the main role in caregiving and looking after those eggs. Up to about 4 or 5 other females may also lay their eggs in that nest, and by having a number of the different females laying their eggs, essentially it has up to about 22 to 25 eggs in a nest, which helps with the security of those eggs because there's more of them, so the chances of some of them surviving is higher. And that main female, or the major as they refer to, she will take care of most of those eggs. She'll do a lot of the incubating during the day. The male does the incubating at night because the different colors in their feathers will help them blend in depending on the amount of light around between day and night. And once the eggs are then ready to hatch, the chicks don't have an egg tooth like most other birds, which helps them break through the shell. They actually get out of the shell by these muscular spasms where they push their back and their legs and their wings out, which eventually then cracks open the shell and allows them to break free, and that can take about 2 to 5 days, so it's a very strenuous process. And then once they're out of their eggs, they actually just sit down and wait because they're slowly developing the muscles in their legs before they're actually able to walk. There's a few other ostriches in the distance, and the female is giving off quite an interesting display, flapping her wings about, pulling her head back, and what I think that might be is a bit of a dominance display or some display to signal to the other ostriches to stay away. But what's interesting is we've just seen the female now take off after another group of ostriches in the distance, and she's gone chasing them around there. Did not expect to see that. Often it's the male that's the one that's chasing off any intruders or any other rivals. So to see the female doing it is pretty impressive. It's not often you get to see an ostrich running at full speed, especially out in the open, and to see all 5 of them running like that was incredible. The stride that they've got is enormous, and they can get up to speeds of about 70 to 75 kilometers an hour, which is pretty impressive for a bird that's only able to run. And a very big, heavy boned body, and that obviously inhibits them to fly. But I mean, it's amazing to watch them run. That was obviously her just driving them off, keeping them away. She may feel that they are a threat to these youngsters. Little ostrich chicks are incredibly vulnerable because there's a lot of predators out here that'll go after them, from the likes of lions, leopards, hyenas, wild dogs, jackal, as well as a lot of predatory birds such as African hawk eagles, martial eagles, and so the odds are seriously stacked against these little ostrich chicks. It's been an incredible time with the ostrich family. It's getting quite warm, so we're going to start heading back towards camp and see what else we find on the way home. So we've just arrived to a very brief sighting of the Nhlanguleni female up in a knobthorn feeding on an impala. As we arrived, she was busy grooming herself and looks as though she's about to come down. If she does, there's a few hyenas on the ground nearby here, so she'll probably run off and go and settle up. There's a termite mound not too far away from here. But what's fascinating is, I believe the Ximungwe female had made this kill. She managed to hoist it up into the tree this morning, and her and her cub were here feeding on it. And somewhere between this morning and this afternoon, the kill was knocked out of the tree. Some hyenas stole it and fed on it for a bit, and then the Nhlanguleni female has come in and stolen it from the hyenas and taken it into the tree. So we have no idea where the Ximungwe female and her cub are, whether they're even still around here, or just how the Nhlanguleni female came in and managed to gather this kill. It's great that they're around here. We'll spend some time. Maybe the Ximungwe female might even return. So what we're hoping for at some point is to get a good view of this female's belly, because we've got high suspicions that she may have some cubs somewhere, and by looking at her belly we'll be able to see if she's got a milk pouch or if there's some fresh suckle marks there. And the fact that she's got a kill here means that she's most likely going to feed, and then at some point she'll go back to a den and nurse her cubs, and then hopefully return at some point tomorrow. So if we stick with her long enough, she'll hopefully lead us back to the den if she does have cubs. So the Ximungwe female's just come up into the tree behind us. The Nhlanguleni female's just seen her. She's busy starting to growl, but let's see what interaction happens between them here. Sadly, we parked in between the two of them. I don't want to move the vehicle because that may upset what's happening here. So as it stands now, the Ximungwe female is up in the tree busy feeding up there. The Nhlanguleni female is lying just through the grass on the other side of those guarri bushes. There's a bit of growling happening in between them, but there's no interaction, and I highly doubt there will be, because we know the Ximungwe female has got a relatively old cub, probably around 9 months old now, and the Nhlanguleni, we did have a brief glimpse of her, and she does look like she's got suckle marks, which is fantastic news. The only problem is we need to find that den, and so with both of them having cubs and essentially something else that's dependent on them, they don't want to get into a fight and risk injury, because that then seriously reduces their chances of survival and essentially their cub survival. So I'm sure there's going to be a bit of a stalemate here where they're just growling at each other, and as soon as the Ximungwe female's had her fill, she'll probably come down out of the tree, and the Nhlanguleni female will then go try get the kill back. But also what complicates things is there's a lot of hyenas at the base, and so the Nhlanguleni female doesn't want to go charging in there to try and get to the Ximungwe female because the hyenas are in the way. That was a pretty phenomenal scene with the Ximungwe female up there, the sunset with the colour in the background. She's just come down now and gone walking off into the distance. Nhlanguleni female still behind some of the bushes there. I'm sure it's only a matter of time before she gets up and tries to go up into the tree there. So it's starting to get dark, and we don't want to put any pressure on either of these two females, given that we know that now for sure that both of them have got cubs. Nhlanguleni being up in the tree, we can see her belly, you can see those suckle marks, and so this is fantastic news. Now the next challenge is just to try and find her den. But it's been a phenomenal afternoon, and so let's start heading back to camp.